Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we are back finally for the final day of the Royal Ascot review. A little bit late, but better late than never. One of these has actually run since. Not to worry though, it ran in a race that was probably just slightly too hard for the horse, and they ran well. They finished fourth, but I really like this horse coming back for a future race. So let's go through day 5, starting off with the Chesham Stakes. Very, very impressive winner here, wasn't there? Bedtime Story won by 9.5 lengths. Super impressive for Aidan O'Brien. The task may have been made easier in the fact that the biggest danger, Age of Gold, was trained by Charlie Appleby. And Charlie's horses ran really flat at Royal Ascot. He didn't get close to a winner, and yet he had a few that were quite short prices for the Royal Ascot. Let's just go through those now. He had Symbol of Honour 6-1, Al Qudra 9-1, Notable Speech 6-4, Diamond Rain 3-1, Mountain Breeze 9-4, Age of Gold 100-30. None of those even placed. Did Mountain Breeze officially? No, it was in a Group 3, not a handicap. Mountain Breeze probably finished the furthest forward, finishing 4th. Yeah, Charlie Appleby's horses really ran flat at Royal Ascot. Don't totally know why. His horses were running well before that, and they were running well afterwards. Somebody had suggested there was a virus, but it was just a random person, not anybody really in the know. And the horses have been running well since. Obviously, King of Conquest, Noble Dynasty, Ottoman Fleet, even yesterday at Churchill Downs, have all come out and shown that the horses are actually running fine. They just didn't run well at Royal Ascot for some reason. Now, I'm not knocking Bedtime Story. I think it was a very, very smart performance from her still, and she's clearly well above average. I think I know a horse that can win a race further down the line though, and it's the Godolphin one. It's Age of Gold. Go back and actually watch that race and watch Age of Gold, and with about 2 furlongs to go, tell me where the horse is going to finish. You would say 14th, 15th, and yeah, he actually ran on quite nicely towards the end. These are generally horses that can step up in trip. They go up to a mile, even a mile and 2, a mile and 4 in the future. And yeah, I think Age of Gold may have just been both had the negative of Charlie Appleby, had the negative of potentially the trip, and just maybe needed another run to really understand what to do. Maybe it's his debut effort was just too easy for him and he didn't really know what he was doing. Now, if he'd been hard ridden here, I think he could have got up for like 3rd or 4th. And we would be suggesting that actually maybe Age of Gold ran a good race. Now, I know the horse that I'm really keen on going forward, and as I said, is Age of Gold. I know the race I'm really keen on for this horse. Step up and trip towards the end of the season in this autumn stakes at Newmarket. Interestingly, Godolphin and Charlie Appleby have won this for the last 4 years with Ancient Wisdom, Silver Knot, Caribus and One Ruler. Godolphin have also won it with Military March, Gayeth and Best Solution in the last, 8 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the last 8 years, they've won it 7 times. The only time they didn't win it was with Persian King. And after that run by Persian King for Andre Fabre, Godolphin went and bought the horse. So they clearly like this race. It's a race that they like to win. And yeah, I think we will see Age of Gold run in that. The Autumn Stakes in the autumn, in October. And then try and go and win the Futurity, the Racing Post Trophy thing. I don't know what it's going to be called this year. The Mile Group 1 at the end of the season. Yeah, keep an eye out. Don't completely write off Age of Gold going forward. I think he will be great when he goes up in trip, once he's had a little bit more experience. And yeah, just Charlie's horses were running so poorly that I'm prepared to forgive him that run. Moving on to the 305 at Ascot, which was the Hardwick Stakes, won here by Isle of Jura beating Goliath and Midlerth, and it was a good run. It was a good win from Isle of Jura. I do think Continuous travelled like the best horse in the race again, and obviously he was having his first run for 265 days. You can see all the others were race fit and almost optimum time off as well. 28 days is the optimum time off for horses, and as we can see, a lot of them, look at this, 20 to 35 for all of these, apart from Continuous. Mr. Cut probably had too long off. I think it was a really good effort from Continuous still, and I think by the end of the season, again, we'll be saying, yeah, Continuous was the best horse from that Hardwick Stakes, the Group 2. He just needed the run. Surely we'll see him back in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Kipco Stakes on the 27th of July. So what's that, 28 days from now? Yeah, I wouldn't be giving up on Continuous. If he turns back up in the King George, I still think he's going to run a really big race there. Moving on to the 345, won by Cardham for the second consecutive year in a weak Group 1. Was there anything I liked further behind? No. Simple as that. Nothing really interested me in this Group 1. I think there's a space for a proper Group 1 horse over these 5 and 6 furlong trips. I don't know who that is yet. Moving on to the 425, the Jersey Stakes over 7. Hartum dropped back in trip and probably got his just rewards for a third place in a Guineas, a second place in a Guineas, both times beaten by Brazilian. Brazilian had won the St James's Palace, the Group 1, Frank in that form. You know, the form was there to see. Hartum probably deserved that. River Tiber disappointed back in the field for sure, having actually finished just behind Hartum in the Irish 2000 Guineas, was a long way back in the Jersey Stakes, finishing only 8th. Anything from that race that caught my eye? Not really. Not really. I think I'm sure River Tiber will bounce back. Hartum and Kukuli, yeah, probably they're the best 3, I think, in the race. So let's move on to our race that did catch my eye, the 505. And the first one I want to give a brief mention to, or not a brief mention to, it's Orazio. Went off 7-2 favourite the year before, finished 6th, off a mark of 102, returned this year off a mark of 100, and crazily went off 16-1, and ran a really good race, finished 3rd, closing all the way to the line. Well, obviously we were delighted that he didn't get there because we were on Equal Love, who was also our top-rated horse that day. Orazio, I don't totally know where they're going to go with him. That's my only concern and why I've not really put him up as one to definitely follow. The one that I do want to talk about, though, finished way down in 22nd. That's 5,000 to 1. 5,000 to 1, way down in 22nd. Did not get a run at all. No run at all under Oisin Murphy. Now, interestingly, the horse has already come back out. He ran on Saturday, which was yesterday, in the Chip Chase Stakes, the Group 3. Ran a really good race for 4th. Didn't get the clearance of runs again. Obviously, he's got some really good all-weather form. However, he does have some turf form, and that's where I think we might see him next. Back on the turf at Goodwood, at the, what's it called now? Glorious Goodwood, the Qatar Racing Festival. I don't know what it's called at the moment. I think they were pulling out of the Guineas, weren't they? So they might pull out of the Goodwood Festival as well. There is this 6 furlong Royal Stewards Cup. That's where I'm sure we're going to see 5,000 to 1. He's been to Goodwood once. He won, beating many a star, Dusky Lord, Indian Creek and Atlanta's Boy. Now, that's not top quality form, but he still won, and to be fair, he won it quite comfortably. I think his effort at Royal Ascot off 105 demonstrated that he's still nicely handicapped. He's handicapped nicely when he goes into handicap company. The previous run was a 9th place in a Group 2. I'm just trying to find out when his previous handicap effort was. Where did he finish? Just having a quick look. The time before that, he ran in a sprint handicap at Newcastle. He won. He won in a handicap at Kempton. He won. He ran in a handicap at Newcastle. He was 2nd to Al Bashir. He ran in a handicap at Lingfield. He was 2nd to Coachella. So his last 4 handicap runs had actually seen him finish 2nd, 1st, and I don't really feel that his new mark of 105 was what stopped him at Royal Ascot. It was that he didn't get a clear run. The handicapper did drop him to 104. I imagine he might put him back up to 105 after his 4th place in the chip chase. But it is a horse that I'm still very interested in. And as I said, the Stewards Cup is definitely it's got to be the target for this horse after an unlucky run at Royal Ascot. Moving on to the 540, I've actually loaded up the horse instead of the race. Moving on to the 540, which was the Golden Gate Stakes. The horse that caught my eye here was Whiskey Pete, who he was held up right near the back and he looked a little bit outpaced turning in before not getting a clear run. When Hector initially asked the horse for an effort, he moved into it quite nicely. And then he kind of ran into the back of Approval, I think it was. So Hector waited, and then he thought, right, now I'm going to go down the inside. And just as he went to go down the inside, he realised that Narano, I think it was Narano, had taken his run. And he was like, oh, I can't go down the inside either. So he had to wait again. And then it was a very comfortable, gentle ride home from Hector Crouch on Whiskey Pete. I think the horse, as he looked a little bit outpaced here, even over 1 mile and 2. He's only a 3-year-old. He's only had, 7 runs now. I think he's still going to get better with a little bit more going a bit further. I think there's this race at York that he could be interested in. It's 1 mile and 4, this race here at the bottom. The betting better with Sky Bet Handicap Stakes. It's over 1 mile and 4, just short of 1 mile and 4. Horse is rated 76.95, so he gets in. He's a 3-year-old, he gets in. And if we look at his form, he does have a win to his name at York. Okay, last time out at York, it all went wrong. He pulled up, but I'd forgive him that. That was his return. Things obviously didn't quite go to plan. And he's ran 2 reasonable races since at Ascot and Epsom. So yeah, just keep an eye out for Whiskey Pete, especially if he goes back to York at the end of this month. And finally, the last horse that I thought was interesting was in this race, the Condition Stakes. It's Run for Oscar. I mean, yes, he got well beaten here. He got beat by Uxmal, who is a very well supported gamble for the Joseph O'Brien yard. They obviously knew that they had probably a group horse running in a conditions race, and he won it nicely. Run for Oscar did not get a good ride though from Maxime Guillaume. Waited out the back, and just was given far too much to do to try and run down Uxmal. That might have been the plan. Maybe they want to come back for this race. Whoops, it's not there. There it is. The Cesarewitch. I think he'll come back for that again. He won it back in 2022 off a mark of 90. Now, he's rated 103 now. I think he just wants this long sort of trip, ridiculously far. 3rd in the Queen Alexandra Stakes last year, given too much to do. Went to Punchestown, finished 2nd in a hurdle race, ignore that one. Finished 3rd behind Trushan and Moonwolf in a Group 1. He just wants as far can go on the flat, really. And yeah, dropping back to Handicap Company, I think he would win that again, even off his much higher mark. Some of the form behind was actually good. Beating Not So Sleepy, Zoffy, A Horse of No Name, Scaramanga, Withhold. It was a decent Cesarewitch. And yeah, it's good prize money, and I think they might come back for it again this year. So, Run for Oscar is my final one from the Queen Alexandra Stakes. I think, if he comes back for that Cesarewitch again, I think it'd take all of the beating. So, a quick recap. Really want to see Age of Gold run in the Autumn Stakes over 1 mile. Godolphin like to win it, and if they don't win it, they go and buy the horse that wins it. Continuous, I think we'll see him back in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Kipco Stakes, the Group 1 over 1 mile and 4 at Ascot on the 27th of July. Just needed the run, in my opinion. From the 505, the Wokingham, keep an eye out for a Ratio wherever they go with him. And also 5,000 to 1 when they drop him back again to Handicap Company. Didn't get a clear run in the Wokingham. Ran a really good race in the Chip Chase. Go to Goodwood for that Stewards Cup, and I think he will run a huge race. Whiskey Pete. Let's just reload that. Whiskey Pete, when he goes up in trip to 1.5 miles, I think it'd be very interesting. There is a handicap on the 27th of July at York. Over 1.5 miles. He has got a win at his name to his name at York. I think we will see him there. And finally, Run for Oscar back in the Cesarewitch.